Dewa Perang was a name whispered in fear. His voice was the thunder before a storm. His eyes held the glint of unsheathed steel. He was the god of war, mighty and terrible. Mountains trembled when he walked the earth. Rivers would change their course to avoid his path. His strength was a legend, sung by bards and cursed by enemies. He believed his power was the only truth in all the worlds. For what could stand against such might? His axe, a colossal weapon, tasted the blood of countless foes. Kingdoms fell like dominoes before his relentless charge. Other gods, lesser gods, would offer him tribute. They hoped to appease his insatiable hunger for conquest. Dewa Perang laughed at their offerings, at their fear. He took what he wanted, when he wanted. His heart was a fortress, built of pride and victories. No arrow of doubt had ever pierced its walls. He knew only the song of battle. No one dared to question his pronouncements. His word was law, enforced by his devastating power. He had sculpted the world with his battles. The scars on the land were testaments to his fury. He saw wisdom as a trinket for the weak, a shield for those who could not fight. He saw diplomacy as a coward's game. Why talk when you could conquer? Strength was his god, and he was its most devoted follower. He sat upon a throne made of broken shields. Skulls of defeated kings adorned his vast hall. Every echo in that hall spoke of his dominance. Every shadow seemed to bow before his presence. He was complete, he thought, a perfect engine of war. He needed nothing more, sought nothing more. The universe to him was a battlefield, and he was its undisputed, eternal champion. One day a challenge arrived. It was not a warrior, breathing fire and threats. It was not an army with banners flying high. It came as a whisper, a puzzle from a distant land. A kingdom, small and insignificant, had defied him. They had not sent soldiers, nor had they built walls. They had sent a riddle, carried by a frail old man. The message was simple: solve it or leave them be. It was a challenge of wits, not of brawn. Dewa Perang scoffed. A riddle? This was an insult. He, the master of destruction, to be tested by words? He ordered the old man to be thrown in chains. He would march upon this foolish kingdom himself. He would grind their cleverness into dust beneath his heel. His armies gathered, a sea of steel and fury. The ground shook with their anticipation of another easy victory. He felt the familiar surge of power, the joy of impending conflict. But the riddle lingered in his mind, like a splinter, small and annoying. He tried to ignore it, to focus on the coming battle. Yet it returned again and again. Its words were simple, but their meaning eluded him. He who could shatter mountains could not shatter this puzzle. His generals offered no help. They were men of action like him. They too were baffled by the simple words. The drums of war beat, but a strange quietness filled his thoughts. The march began, but his heart was not in it. The silence of the unsolved riddle was louder than any war cry. For the first time, Dewa Perang felt a hesitation, a flicker of something unfamiliar. Was it doubt? Or was it the dawning realization that some fortresses could not be breached by force alone? This tiny kingdom, with its mere words, had found a chink in his armor of absolute strength. He felt a strange, unsettling emptiness, a void his power could not fill. The campaign against the Riddle Kingdom was a disaster. Not in battle, for no battle was fought. The kingdom was protected by an illusion, a clever trick of the mind, not of magic. Dewa Perang's armies marched in circles. They fought shadows, mistaking trees for enemies. Frustration mounted. His legendary strength was useless here. He could not punch a mirage into submission. He could not intimidate an idea into surrender. He was utterly and publicly stumped. Humiliated, Dewa Perang retreated. His warriors were confused. Their god, the invincible, had been thwarted by nothing, by air, by words. The silence on the journey back was heavy. He sat alone in his vast hall, the skulls seeming to mock him. The throne of shields felt cold, uncomfortable. The echoes no longer spoke of dominance, but of his strange defeat. The taste of victory was absent, replaced by a bitter, unfamiliar flavor. He had never known such a feeling before. He began to listen, really listen, not to the songs of war, but to the quiet spaces in between. He heard whispers among his servants, tales of old sages, of hidden wisdom. They spoke of a power different from his own, a power that built, that understood, that guided, not a power that merely destroyed. These were stories he had always dismissed, the ramblings of the weak, he once thought. Now they held a strange allure, a desperate hope. One name was spoken more often than others. Guru Tua, the old teacher. He lived far away, in a place untouched by war, a place where knowledge was treasured above all else. They said he could answer any question, that he understood the secrets of the universe. Dewa Perang felt a stirring within him, not of anger or conquest, but of curiosity and a desperate, aching need. Perhaps this Guru Tua held the key to the strength he now realized he lacked. Dewa Perang decided he would find this Guru Tua. Not to learn, he told himself sternly. He would test this supposed wise man. He would demand answers, as was his right. He was still Dewa Perang after all. He would not beg for knowledge like a common scholar. He would take it by force if necessary. His pride, though dented, was still a formidable shield. He could not imagine himself as a mere student. He was a god. He set out, not with an army but alone. He wore simple clothes, not his fearsome armor. His great axe was left behind, leaning against his cold throne. This was not a journey of conquest, he reasoned, though the idea of going unarmed felt unnatural, like a bird trying to fly with clipped wings. He felt vulnerable, exposed. Every rustle of leaves made him reach for a weapon that was not there. The world felt different, sharper, more threatening. His journey was not marked by battles. Instead, it was marked by small frustrations. He, who could command legions, got lost in a simple forest. He, who could cross burning deserts, struggled to find clean water. His divine strength was of little use when asking for directions. People did not cower before him in his plain attire. Some were helpful, some indifferent. Some even laughed at his impatient demands. Each small incident chipped away at his towering ego. He grew weary, not from fighting but from thinking, from observing, from failing in small, mundane ways. He realized how much he relied on his power, how little he understood of the world beyond the battlefield. The whispers of wisdom he had dismissed now seemed like vital clues. The journey was changing him, slowly, subtly. He was still Dewa Perang, the warlord, but a new seed, the seed of a seeker, was beginning to sprout in the barren soil of his heart. Section 5. A path not carved by swords. The path to Guru Tua was not found on any map. It was not a road one could march upon. It was a path of stillness, of listening. Dewa Perang, used to charging forward, found this difficult. He asked for Guru Tua in villages. Some folk had heard the name, but their directions were vague. Follow the silent stream, one said. Listen for the wind that speaks no name, another advised. These were riddles, much like the one that had defeated him. His frustration grew. He tried to force his way. He demanded clearer answers. He shouted at the unhelpful wind. He kicked at the silent stream. But the forest remained indifferent to his divine rage. The path remained hidden. His impatience, once a tool to spur armies, was now his greatest enemy. He sat by a gnarled tree, defeated by the quiet persistence of nature. He was used to breaking obstacles, not to understanding them. This was a new kind of warfare, one he was ill-equipped for. Days turned into weeks. His grand attire was now tattered. His divine aura was dimmed by exhaustion and humility. He started to observe. He watched how animals found their way. He listened to the subtle sounds of the forest. He learned to be patient, not by choice but by necessity. He began to see patterns he had never noticed before. The way sunlight filtered through leaves, the intricate dance of insects. The world was speaking, but not in a language of commands. Slowly, he began to understand the cryptic directions. Follow the silent stream meant to find peace within himself. Listen for the wind that speaks no name meant to empty his mind of his own loud identity. The path was not a physical one, it was a journey inwards. As his arrogance lessened, as his mind quieted, the way became clearer. Not a beaten track, but a subtle sense of direction. A feeling of being drawn towards something still and profound. At last he found it. Not a grand fortress, nor a towering temple. It was a simple grove hidden deep in the mountains. Sunlight dappled through ancient trees. A small, clear pond reflected the sky. There was a profound silence here. Not an empty silence, but one filled with life. The chirping of unseen birds, the rustle of leaves. It was a peace Dewa Perang had never known. It felt more powerful than any army. His heart, usually a war drum, beat a little slower here. An old man sat beneath the largest tree. He was frail, his clothes simple, his hands gentle. This was Guru Tua, the famed sage. He was not imposing. He did not radiate power in the way Dewa Perang understood it. Yet there was an aura about him, an aura of immense calm, of deep knowing. He looked up as Dewa Perang approached. His eyes were kind, yet they seemed to see right through the god's remaining bravado. There was no fear in them, only a gentle welcome. Dewa Perang, for a moment, forgot his intention to demand answers. He stood awkwardly, the great god of war, feeling like a lost child. The guru simply smiled. "You have traveled far," he said, his voice soft as moss. "Rest, drink. The journey makes one thirsty." He gestured to a simple clay cup and a pitcher of water. There was no deference, no awe, just simple human kindness. This disarmed Dewa Perang more than any weapon could have. The warrior god found himself accepting the water. He drank, and it was the sweetest he had ever tasted. He sat, not on a throne, but on the soft earth. He tried to summon his old arrogance, to make his demands, but the words caught in his throat, the stillness of the grove, the gentle presence of the guru. They seemed to absorb his aggression, his pride. He looked at the old man and for the first time felt a sense of smallness, a genuine curiosity. Dewa Perang finally spoke. His voice, usually a roar, was subdued. "I am Dewa Perang," he announced, a hint of his old self. "I have come for your wisdom." He tried to sound commanding, but it felt hollow, even to his own ears. The guru nodded slowly, his gaze unwavering. "Wisdom is not a fruit to be plucked, mighty one," he replied gently. "It is a seed that must be nurtured within." This was not the answer Dewa Perang expected. He felt a familiar surge of impatience. "Then tell me how to nurture it." Dewa Perang insisted. "I am a fast learner when I choose to be." The guru smiled faintly. He did not offer grand pronouncements or secret scrolls. Instead, he asked Dewa Perang to fetch water from the pond using a leaky basket. Dewa Perang was insulted. Fetch water? Him, with a useless basket? This was a task for a servant, not a god. He felt his anger rising, his pride pricked. This old man was mocking him, yet something in the guru's calm demeanor made him hesitate. Reluctantly, he tried. Again and again, the water slipped through the cracks. His frustration grew. He wanted to smash the basket, to roar at the old man. But he remembered his journey, the lessons in patience he had stumbled upon. He took a deep breath. He looked at the basket, then at the pond. He began to think, not about forcing, but about understanding. The task seemed impossible, designed to make him fail. After many failed attempts, near despair, he noticed something. Clay. Wet clay by the pond's edge. An idea sparked. He carefully lined the basket with the clay, sealing the leaks. Slowly, painstakingly, he managed to carry water to the guru. It was a small victory, but it felt immense. The guru nodded. "You see," he said softly, "sometimes the obstacle itself shows you the way. Strength can break, but understanding can mend. The first lesson is to see beyond the obvious." Dewa Perang stayed in the grove. Days turned into weeks, then months. The guru never lectured. He spoke in parables, in simple stories. He pointed to a flower, a crawling ant, a fleeting cloud. And in these simple things, Dewa Perang began to see profound truths. The guru taught him about the cycles of nature, about creation and destruction being two sides of the same coin, about the power of listening, of empathy, of stillness. These were concepts alien to the god of war. He learned that true strength was not just about breaking things. It was also about holding things together. It was about understanding connections. The guru showed him how a single word spoken with wisdom could avert a war, how a gentle hand could heal what a mighty fist had broken. Dewa Perang listened, rapt. His mind, once a battleground of strategies and tactics, began to open. Like a parched field soaking up rain, he absorbed the guru's quiet teachings. The guru spoke of the vastness within, the universe inside every living being. He explained that conquering kingdoms was a small thing, compared to conquering one's own anger, one's own pride. Dewa Perang looked at his hands, hands that had wielded weapons of immense destruction. He now saw them differently. They could also build, they could also protect. A profound shift was occurring within him. The armor of his arrogance was crumbling, piece by piece. He asked questions now, not demands but genuine inquiries. He wanted to understand, about life, about purpose, about peace. The guru answered patiently, always guiding him to find the answers within himself. Dewa Perang realized that wisdom was not a set of rules. It was a way of seeing, a way of being. It was a light that illuminated the darkness of ignorance. He felt a new kind of power growing within him, a quiet, steady strength far greater than his old chaotic force. One morning, Dewa Perang looked at his reflection in the still pond. He saw not just the fearsome god of war. He saw a seeker, a student. The lines of anger on his face had softened. His eyes, once burning with battle fury, now held a thoughtful light. He had arrived as a conqueror, demanding knowledge. He now understood that knowledge could not be taken. It could only be received, with an open heart and a humble mind. He felt a deep sense of gratitude. He approached Guru Tua, who sat in his usual spot beneath the ancient tree. The old sage looked at him, a gentle smile on his lips. He knew the transformation was complete. Dewa Perang, the mighty god of war, slowly knelt. Then he bowed his head to the ground before the frail old man. An act he had never performed for any king, any god. It was not an act of submission to power. It was an act of profound respect, of deep reverence for wisdom. Guru, Dewa Perang said, his voice filled with emotion. You have shown me a universe I never knew existed. You have taught me what true strength is. He finally understood. The greatest battles are not fought on fields of war, but within the landscape of the soul. The greatest weapon is not a sharp blade, but a keen mind and a compassionate heart. He was no longer just a god of war. He was a guardian, a protector, guided by wisdom. Guru Tua placed a gentle hand on Dewa Perang's bowed head. Rise, Dewa Perang, he said softly. The journey of learning never ends. Go now, and let your actions be guided by what you have understood. Dewa Perang rose, a changed being. He left the grove, not with arrogance, but with quiet purpose. The worlds would still know Dewa Perang, but they would know him now not just for his might, but for his wisdom. Even the god of war had bowed, calling a humble sage his teacher.